Ross Bolen Podcast.
You better listen.
Welcome back to the Ross Bolen Podcast, otherwise known as RBP, presented by Bolen Media. I am your host, Ross Bolen, back again, as always, with your co-host, Chris Coulson. Chris, what's good?
What's up, man? I took this weekend and didn't do anything I said I was going to do. I didn't listen to our listeners and didn't legally change my name to Crank, nor get a haircut. So, happy Monday.
Very
Sorry,
upsetting.
guys.
Lack of progress.
Yeah. Well, technically, I am waiting on my boss to send me his contact for his hairstylist.
You're right. It would take me all of 42 seconds.
And we're 48 hours in. So, I'll get back to you there.
But I've got a feeling this afternoon is it's going to happen.
Do you?
Because I got a text or two. I'm getting a little, you know how your hair, when it starts to come over your ears a little bit and starts to get a little, well, you don't know, right?
Do. Well, I do know.
Different phases of haircut,
A little
though.
bit different.
I'm
now
in the
we're
phase
at
where
the phase where I'm almost full earmuff.
I'm at the phase where I have to make a decision.
Yeah.
Either keep going and grow it out or get a haircut or it looks kind of shitty.
Maybe I go short, you grow long, and we'll just
You
switch
wanna reverse
places. Mm-hmm. You can have the nose piercing.
Then
I'll
it just
take
looks
on
even more like I'm like, how do you do, fellow kids? And I just can't. I can't go there. I can't go there.
Not ready for that yet.
Nah.
That's a last-ditch effort.
35 years old, I think.
Okay.
When I hit like that, like, you know.
When did your dad go long hair?
Oh, never didn't.
Oh, he never did it.
This wasn't like a.
He never had a.
I think
short
as a
hair phase.
9-year-old, he had a shaved head, and then that was it. He
It's
had
been
long
growing
hair
ever
his
since.
entire life
Wow.
ever since. He looked like a
Respect.
surfer his whole life, pretty much. Yeah. To start today's show, Chris and I are both going to share some important historical happenings, random anecdotes and such. We will be creating a balance. You will see. I'm going to start, Chris.
Hit it.
Me first. My mom came in town again this weekend.
She did.
She did. To take care of my dogs for me when I was gone on Friday night. I got to go on a little trip this weekend to old San Marcos, Texas, the 78666, to which I swore I would never return. Technically, I was on the outskirts of it, not the heart. I didn't venture into the square or anything, suicidal like
It's
that.
like a black hole. The gravity is not quite as intense on the edges.
And when you don't drink anymore, it's, yeah. Like the magnet, it can't quite suck me in anymore.
True.
You know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
just not a whole lot of reason for me to go in there, as opposed for, like, there was a few guys that on this trip that they do still drink, and they got sucked into the black hole because the magnet's powered by alcohol.
Have you ever seen the SpongeBob movie?
There's a SpongeBob, like, full-length motion picture?
I think there's two technically now, but I was talking about the first one.
Well, then, no, I haven't.
They try to save King Neptune's trident, but there's a scene in the
Okay,
SpongeBob
but that sort of
movie.
rings a bell, though. Maybe I saw the preview.
You
Anyway,
probably
continue.
did. It was on Nick like every weekend for like 3 years. So there's a scene in the SpongeBob movie where they're in the real world and they go through a mall with a perfume shop. And they're like trying to escape the perfume shop because the perfume is so strong and it's spraying all over them.
It's not Hawthorne.
It's not Hawthorne, yeah. If it was a Hawthorne shop, they'd be fine. But that's you in San Marcos.
Okay,
There's just shit coming at you the whole time, and you're just doing
Can't
your
do it,
best to
bro.
try to escape through and just survive as long as you can.
Yeah, can't do it. So while I was on that trip, my mom came in town. She watched the dogs. And then I came back Saturday early and got to spend all Saturday and then Sunday morning with her. And she met Chris on Saturday. And I've just been getting to spend more time with my family lately. And I'm trying to get better about spending my time only on things that truly matter and not waste quite so much. I know you need time for yourself and you got to set time apart for calm, but I'm trying to get to a place where I've got a better balance in my life in terms of focusing on the things that are important, because 2020 has put into such perspective for us how fleeting how fleeting everything can be.
Absolutely.
Really.
You know
So
what the hardest thing for me about family time these days is?
Huh.
Mental bandwidth. Because, like, even though they're still family, it still definitely takes up mental bandwidth to be able to have, the conversations that you want to have.
and that's
with
almost what I
family.
mean.
Yeah, it's almost more difficult for me when I have a conversation with my family, and then after I get off the phone, well, because right now it's just phone calls and stuff. But for me, after I
Right.
get off the phone, I'm like, oh, dude, that was a waste of a conversation just because I had nothing in the tank, and I feel bad
and
about it.
that's a thing that's a professional hazard as well. With what we do for a living,
Absolutely.
I've found that phone calls in particular are very taxing.
Yeah.
Because, like, when you talk for 4 or 5 hours a day like we do some days if we're streaming, then after recording a podcast, if we're streaming. That's a lot, man. That's a lot of words to stick out. So that's a thing that I've had to figure out how to like space out as well. And that's sort of what I mean is finding ways to put my energy only towards things that matter.
Absolutely.
Right? Speaking of only focusing on things that are important and that matter, Chris and I got to show her Fall Guys, my mom, and how Twitch works, which was, some of y'all are probably like, good God, you made your mom watch Fall Guys. But listen, my mom is a diehard supporter of everything I do and listens to every episode of this show within minutes of it dropping. She's in the Twitch chat last night. She's not in town anymore. She was not in town last night when we were streaming. She's still in the chat, texted me to tell me she was going to pull it up on her laptop to make sure she supported to get our numbers up or whatever. So I just wanted to say I love you, Mom, and thanks for watching my fur family this weekend and for always supporting everything I do. It means a lot. Thank you. Chris, your turn.
This weekend as well marked the anniversary of the 1963 March on Washington. 57 years ago last Friday, August
57 years.
57 years, which is crazy because 57 years is not as long as some might think. You know what I mean?
The older you get, obviously, the less time, 100 years when I was a little kid felt like a fucking million.
Exactly, yeah. And
now 100 years, I'm like, my grandma's almost been alive 100 years, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've been alive 20 years, so in those 20 years, I see what's changed in the world in those 20 years, and then when I put that context towards 57 years, I'm like, wait, 57 years is not that long.
Right, in the grand scope of things. I mean, there's so much, in the 24-hour news cycle, especially in 2020.
It makes things
It makes it feel like there's so much happening. It's all so fast. And oh, my God. But, in the grand scheme of things, in 33 years that I've been alive, I mean, really, if 2020 is shown as anything in terms of racial inequality in the United States,
57 years.
Things move very fucking slowly in some regards.
Slow progress.
Right? So, 100 years is not that much time the older you get. And I would again remind everybody, there's a 12-year gap between Chris and I even.
Yeah. Which is crazy. But
what is it? What do I say? I've lived
you've lived
half your life 3 times.
Yeah. You've lived half my life 3 times.
Yeah.
We spent 20 minutes doing this math one day.
Yeah.
It was Thanks. It was quite incredible.
Thanks to everybody who sat through that conversation.
And thank you, Ross's brain. Actually, you should be thanking me too. I also had to sit through that conversation.
I wasn't thanking anybody. Just my mom. You're thanking yourself.
57 years ago, on August 28th, 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. led an unprecedented yet everlasting march on our nation's capital of Washington, D.C. Joined by 250,000 people, the March on Washington was the beginning of the end in terms of getting the Civil Rights Act of 1964 passed by our president.
That's 250,000 people.
250,000 people. Estimates are 200 to 300,000. About 80% were estimated to be black, with about 20% thinking to have been white. I believe 1 out of the 13 organizers were white, compared to 12 out of the 13 being black or so.
Only black and white people were allowed to participate.
Well, of course, people of color as well. Of course, of course.
Making sure we factor in that math.
Of course.
But that's so many. That's so many.
The pictures are even to this day, you look at the pictures, they're absolutely phenomenal. To see that many people organized together, making something happen is and without social media, they're without phones. This is all word of mouth, posters, phone calls, telegrams. That's it. There was no Facebook or anything like that to post this to. This all had to be organized correctly, diligently, and then put into purpose. Yeah.
That's crazy to think about.
And
how
it was
they
flawless.
Off
it went
the execution without the technology that we currently need to organize a fucking 4-year-old's birthday party. We need a Facebook group. We need to be able to send evites to everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, when you have shit like Firefest that goes on in 2019 and yet 250,000 people were organized to march on our nation's capital.
Yeah, it really shows you how incompetent Billy really was.
Yeah. Idiot. He was on too much of that Billy Kimber. But regardless,
he could have used some Billy Kimber. He was on that Billy nose candy.
Okay, that's actually a very good point.
What was his last name? Anyway, continue.
It was the culmination of progress, ideas, dreams, all reflecting to create a better America tomorrow. And today we use this to reflect and realize we're still fighting this fight, even 57 years later.
It turns out tomorrow
is still today.
Wasn't even in the next 40 years, 60 years, 57 years.
Yeah. And we're still
We're still
talking
waiting
about
for
the
tomorrow.
same issues.
Still waiting for tomorrow to come.
I saw a very powerful political cartoon this weekend that was from the 60s. You might have seen it on Twitter. And it was a political cartoon of how MLK's protests were all nonviolent, but the media was portraying them as nonviolent protests that actually were destroying and looting and rioting. It's a very similar narrative that we hear in our media today. So,
Huzzah! The progress we've made.
time is a flat circle, man.
I still
All
see
right.
no changes.
Ross, back to you.
Back to me. I wanted to talk about sharing a bed with another man
That's beautiful.
as a 33-year-old grown man. Because I shared a bed with my buddy Dave this weekend at the fantasy football draft golf retreat you'll hear me talk about later. And as such, I mean, this is a straight white buddy of mine. And it's always just hilarious as an adult man when you have to share a bed with someone that's another adult man. All right? Because this usually happens at like bachelor parties and shit. All right? And people do weird shit in their sleep. But especially when they're drunk.
Oh, yeah.
Like, especially when they're drunk. And I want to add, like, Dave is my dude, and I love that man. He's probably one of the most hygienic mans I know, so props to Dave for keeping it tight and smelling right. Shouts to Hawthorne. He is not necessarily... Dave's the best man I've ever slept with. Let me put
Wait.
it that way.
When you say smelling good and keeping it tight,
Uh-huh.
is he keeping his butthole tight to keep himself from smelling bad? Is that what you mean?
No, that's
Oh.
most certainly not what I meant.
Oh, okay.
But that's
I just-
neither here nor there.
I
What
just
I
wanted to
mean,
clarify.
what I mean
Okay.
isn't as important
Sure,
as what I don't mean.
sure.
And
He
what I
does
don't
it
mean is
not-
that Dave is not a guilty. He is not like a snoring, like, he's not one of these people who does the weird shit in their sleep. Like, I mean, bro, everybody's woken up like humping their bed before. It happens, right? Everybody. Chris does it all the time. He told me off mic. He said, I'm constantly waking up,
Ross, I sleep in your house like 3 times a week.
making fervent. Well, that's a good point. It'd be
This
a real
is-
problem if this was true.
God, I might need to reconsider.
Sleepwalking, though, people do shit. Drunk people pee
No, you're
themselves.
right. You're right. One time I came to in the middle of a drunk sleepwalking, standing on top of the kitchen counter, pissing in the sink. That's happened before.
Did you really?
Yeah, like I woke up
But you were on the counter?
standing up. Yeah. So what
'Cause that's
happened?
that's not even a thing you would do like if you were awake.
So I've
period.
heard this. No, absolutely not. So I've heard this story from the one person that saw me doing it, buddy of mine. I'll leave him anonymous because of incriminating events that may have happened that night on his end. But
Huzzah.
regardless, he was with a female in the living room and with lack of clothing covering them. I was coming out. This
Well,
is
now
at
it
an
makes it
apartment
sound like the
covering-
incriminating events were sexual.
They were sexual, which is why he's staying anonymous.
Oh, the incriminating events though? Because
I mean,
incriminating
he might
implies
have been. I mean, he might have been
incriminating
like,
implies crime.
well, incriminating if you asked his girlfriend that wasn't there that night.
Okay,
You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So I was walking out of the bedroom that I was sleeping in that had a bathroom attached to it, might I add. Completely naked. Also, might I add. Don't know why. I guess I left my boxers. I went ahead and got naked in the bedroom or something.
You were like, I gotta go pee, and everybody knows you can't pee clothed. Might
Yeah,
as well
so
take it all off.
a friend of mine says that he's literally mid-coitus as they see me walk out of the room, and so they stop and they're both staring at me.
Coitus.
And then he said I hopped up on the counter and I just started pissing in the sink. And he said, Chris, what the fuck are you doing? And that's when I came to. And
Shouts
I
to
was
Big
like,
Cat.
Huh? Oh. And then I just walked back in my bedroom.
I
Yeah.
see. I've never done that. I've never been
It
the
was the
random
only time it's
peer.
ever happened.
I have a buddy who we went on a trip to Galveston, in a beach house. You really shouldn't even call it a beach house. Just a house in Galveston. It was on the beach, but everybody knows the Galveston beach is just. That's not what it should be classified as. There needs to be a new word made up for whatever that is that Galveston has, but it's not a beach. And Galveston, great city. I mean, again, I never mean offense to the people of Galveston. It's just that beach is not a beach. It's like a swamp mixed with like a recycling dumpster.
It's like if a landfill and a Schlitterbahn had a baby.
Collapsed into each other. Yeah. Yes, that's a great. That was. Have you ever even been to Galveston? That was a perfect,
North
perfect,
Schlitterbahn.
perfect explanation somehow. Wow, very impressive. But yeah,
No, Texans just talk so much about how shit Galveston is. I have
well,
a perfect
because when people from out of
visualization.
town come in, out of state come
Yeah.
in, they move down here, and they're like, "So the beach is in Galveston," and I'm like, "Yeah, but like, let's be clear about something here." I don't want you because I don't like people then going and then being like,
Well,
y'all couldn't have told me. Like I have a heroin addiction because I stepped on a needle.
We have Myrtle Beach, which is the Galveston of the South, no doubt, of the Southeast.
Yeah, but Myrtle Beach is to Galveston as like fucking Jerry World. The AT&T Center is to, a middle school football stadium. I don't know what middle school would have its own
Myrtle
football
Beach
stadium.
is to- Okay,
Myrtle
I get what
Beach
you're
is
saying.
sick,
Okay,
comparatively.
okay.
Like, if you
Sure,
put a
sure,
picture
sure,
of Myrtle
sure.
Beach and a picture of Galveston, and
But
you were
have
like,
you been
pick
to Myrtle
one, it would look
Beach?
like a meme, dude. Galveston is a meme.
Yeah, but like
That's what
Myrtle
it is.
Beach
It's not a
has the
beach.
same, like it's like the dark brown sand with like brown water. Like it's got the same vibes. It just has more stuff to do there.
But it's just not the Gulf of
Okay,
Mexico.
fine,
You
fine,
can't
fine,
compete
fine.
with like
Have fun.
what's in there.
Take it.
It's poo.
Is it?
It's mostly poo.
Why
I think.
can you go to the panhandle of Florida and it's like white sand beaches? Gulf of Mexico is beautiful.
You gotta study oceanography and the currents of the ocean to
I'm
know
not
that
doing-
answer.
I'm not doing
I
all
never
that
did
shit.
that.
Fuck that.
I gotta sneeze. I can't hold it. I can't hold it. I can't hold it, man. He came on so fast, and then now I didn't even get the full version out, so I know there's some still back there somewhere. Oh my God, what were we talking about?
You were talking about
Sleeping with men.
yeah. How did we get to Gal? Anyways,
I don't
Dave?
know. Anyway, when I end up sharing a bed with a buddy like Dave this weekend, when I was going to sleep on Friday night, and I was pretty high to be fair, but I was just laying there, and I knew Dave was out already, all right, because like he had showered and prepared. The draft goes like 6.5 hours, of course, fucking disaster. I'll talk about it later. But he's already asleep by the time I get out of the shower,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm laying in bed, and I'm just kind of laughing to myself about like it's fucking. Just me and Dave just sleeping in some random room in San Marcos together. And I was like, man, I really want to like wake up 5 minutes before him and just stare him dead in the face until he
he's
opens his
waking up.
eyes and just say,
Morning.
"Good morning, beautiful." Back to you, Chris.
Wait, did you do it?
No, I fell asleep and he woke up before me.
Fuck.
He's like a normal adult man who like wakes up at like 7:30 and shit. Which is just not my vibe.
Good for Dave.
Not a fan
Good
of
for
that.
Dave. That's.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, would you say the last time you slept in the same bed as another male was probably in San Marcos as well?
No, it definitely wasn't, because
Oh.
I haven't been back in so long, and I've been to bachelor parties and shit
Ah.
since then.
Very
yeah.
true. Very
yeah.
true. All right, back to serious.
Anyway, shouts to men who I've slept with.
Yeah. Shouts to those guys.
Yeah.
The Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Ross has a plaque for you in his house. He just doesn't talk about it much.
Wow.
This weekend,
Wow.
The
That
Major
was,
League-
That was a secret. Okay, go ahead.
Major League Baseball celebrated Jackie Robinson Day, which usually takes place on April 15th, but because no sports were being played on April 15th of this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it was then celebrated on August 28th as all teams across the league wore 42 to celebrate the icon that is Jackie Robinson. The day celebrates the bright and everlasting legacy of Robinson, the first black man to play in that time, the all-white MLB. And on April 15th, 1947, Jackie Robinson made his major league debut for the Brooklyn Dodgers at Ebbets Field before a crowd of 26,623 spectators, many of whom I'm sure had just returned from fighting for the freedoms that America had to offer overseas. 14,000 of those were black spectators, and I'm sure seeing an icon like Jackie Robinson on the field for the first time surrounded by other white men was a statement that even today gives me chills, but I can only imagine the power that it held back then.
Jackie was black.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, you said
see
surrounded
him-
by other white men.
Sorry, surrounded
you a
by
hard
white
time.
men, take out the other.
Yeah.
But yeah, to see what he did to be able to make that accomplishment in 1947, and especially to be able to make that accomplishment right after America had just supposedly fought for the freedoms that we were supposed to be protecting, when black people that had fought overseas and put their life on the line weren't even receiving those same freedoms. It was a start to something much bigger, and that's why we still celebrate him today. what he did for the league as well as what he did for America, I mean, they're pretty unprecedented as well until the 60s, especially in the 40s. That's quite the achievement.
Jackie Robinson took a lot of shit.
A lot of shit
from not just fans, not just spectators.
Teammates.
From other players and even his own teammates. And actually, this point about Jackie Robinson Day and Jackie Robinson will be tying into Chris's last little thing he's going to share. But until then, I'm up next. Were you done?
I am, yeah, go for it.
So I'm going through a tank top phase. If you're watching on youtube.com/Bolen Media, you may have noticed this. And there are a few reasons for this. It is hot as fuck outside. Like, it is hot, man.
Oh, my God.
Like, it is end of August in Texas is tough. Like, it's tough out there.
It's the type of hot that when you work up a sweat, like you do something active, you feel your heartbeat in your head type of hot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're so out of breath and your face gets all red because it's that hot.
We
You
have,
just
like-
can't do more.
We have what I don't understand what a heat index actually means, okay? But we have like whatever it is that gives you the even worse heat than you actually have. So it'll be like 95 degrees, but the heat index is 105, which means it feels like 105. Now, I don't understand how it's not just 105 degrees, and instead it's the heat index is 105, and it's actually 95. But the point is it's very fucking hot. And I have started to wear tank tops more as a result. Also, unlike my twig-like legs, I have solid arms and shoulders. It's like, it's you know how you try to show off the parts of your body that you were blessed in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
This is really all I got.
Yeah, that's why it's rare that I wear sunglasses in the stew.
I've got my bird dogs on below the table, but if I could show you them right now, it's just not an impressive situation in terms of legs.
You're getting there, though. You showed me that one picture.
Look, we're making progress. I'm not saying progress isn't being made. I'm just
I saw
saying.
like half a calf muscle.
I'm just saying. Well,
Little
half
bit of-
is generous.
A little
Half,
bit of tonnage there.
half is generous.
There's like a line where a muscle might be.
Also, I literally see the same 5 people every week. And it straight up doesn't matter what I dress like or that I look like a California scumbag anymore. And that's like half of Austin, Texas at this point anyway. Zing, joke for all the Austin people out there.
Got him.
A little local humor. It is funny how 2020 has drastically changed people's vanity habits. Like, you realize how much silly shit you were doing just for other people and not for yourself. And you realize it because you stopped doing that shit about 3 months ago. Like, once it became very apparent that, like, this was going to be a long-lasting situation, you start to drop the dumb shit. And in a lot of cases, you weren't allowed to do the dumb shit. You know, all the places you used to go for the dumb shit, or what, I mean, not, you know, I'm not saying it's dumb shit. I'm just saying, in my opinion, it's dumb shit. Like, for the, you know, all the crazy beautification things that we do as a society to make ourselves look better for other people, that stuff was either not allowed or just fell to the wayside for many different reasons. Maybe it was just because everything's been so hectic. Maybe it was because your budgeting got stricter, whatever. For whatever the reason, your vanity habits have changed. And it's just interesting to me, like, in my case, would I be dressed like this in a 2020 that didn't have everything we've experienced? Probably. But for so many of y'all, I know this is true. And I know this to be true because I've spoken with you and shit. It's just wild. Like, I will say, though, I'm wearing some Adidas slides right now that actually look like they're female. People always say,
Or
are those
designer.
women's? I'm holding one up, so now I only have one shoe on. Shouts to everybody watching on YouTube. And I miss wearing dope sneakers every day. It just, like, it doesn't make sense for me right now.
Sure.
The
Sure.
creases and damage I'm risking
Not worth the flex
per
factor.
capita for persons seen
Mm-hmm.
isn't worth it. The feet are below the table during the podcast. We haven't had to stoop to the level of being a full-blown feet podcast yet, foot fetish podcast.
Yeah.
So we don't have the foot cam yet.
We could have a foot cam.
I mean, well, you know, that's what I'm saying, though. We're not there yet. We don't need it yet. Let's, you know.
Save that. Just
We'd
in
like to
case.
avoid it
Yeah. That's
if at all possible.
That's our atom bomb.
So I can't wear, like, sneakers that I put all this time and energy into making sure that they stay crispy, you know? When there's no upside. And God, I miss it. Chris, back to you.
The slides are a good look, though.
I like them.
I thought they were designer. I thought they were Gucci.
Many people have thought that. They're not. They were still ridiculously expensive for what they are, though. I think they were $100.
You do pull off feminine footwear very well.
I appreciate that. Yeah, my collection of high heels.
My final point
speaks
to
to it.
wrap up my weekend review. We were sadly given the passing of Chadwick Boseman this weekend on August 28th, 2020. An arguably more inspiring superhero off-screen than on, Chadwick Boseman, most notably known for his roles as Thurgood Marshall, Jackie Robinson, and T'Challa, the Black Panther, passed away calmly with his family at his side from stage 4 colon cancer, diagnosed over 4 years ago now. During the fight, Boseman endured asking for no sympathy from his fans or the public, only working every day to better himself and everything his voice came into contact with. Boseman inspired millions of people, especially young blacks, giving them iconic figures and icons in black history, and becoming an icon himself in the process. His love for others and his passion for what he did was contagious through the silver screen. He will be missed dearly. Wakanda forever.
He was also in The Five Bloods, the Spike Lee movie that came out on Netflix in June, which we covered on Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, which was quite good.
Everything I've seen from him has been incredible.
I didn't realize he was 45 years old or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was in his late 20s or early 30s at the latest. I have not seen a couple of the movies that he's done, but I have seen The Five Bloods, and then the impact this guy made was very, very prevalent. I mean, it couldn't have been more clear over the weekend after he passed. Just the amount of people that had moving things to say about the time he spent on this earth, and the fact that he made all these movies that had such an impact, in particular on Black America, while undergoing treatment for cancer, which progressed from stage 2 to stage 4 over the course of that treatment, and then inevitably took his life. And to do that, in solitude, without putting it out there in the public and making it so that you're getting this constant outpouring of support, and trying not to take the attention away from what the work he was doing and put it onto himself as an individual. I mean, that's heavy, man.
That's very heavy. And to do the iconic roles that he did during that time as well, to leave that sort of impact, to have roles of genuine impactfulness and meaning in society in today's day and age is quite the achievement, unbelievably incredible, and I don't think will be matched for quite a while. I mean, the same thing that Jackie Robinson did for aspiring young African Americans in the 40s that wanted to potentially maybe be a professional athlete, Chadwick Boseman did as well now. I mean, imagine growing up a young black kid never having seen a black superhero on screen ever, and then you see the Black Panther and everything that he did there. It's quite the statement. I mean, it's quite the motivation and the inspiration. And I can't personally relate to it, but I can see the impact that it made. And obviously, it's incredibly beautiful what he did in his final years here on this planet.
Man, that video of them kids finding out that they're going to get to go see Black Panther in theaters that went viral again over the weekend, obviously as a result of Chadwick's passing, is just one of the all-time, great. If you need one endorphin,
it'll give you the endorphin.
That video will give it to you. And Mr. Boseman clearly gave so many endorphins over the course of his life, and will be deeply missed. Rest in peace, dude. That'll do it for our upfront little randomness. RBP 327 is also brought to you by Hawthorne, that I've referenced multiple times already in this episode. What a professional. Too many dudes I know picked a cologne in high school and have been rocking with that shit ever since, and it's a disaster. You smell like a high school gym locker room or a teen apparel store in the mall, and smelling good is very important. That's where Hawthorne comes in. Hawthorne smells really, really good, and getting their cologne is so very easy. When you go to hawthorne.co, you'll take a quick quiz. It legitimately takes you 2 minutes to figure out which scents are best for you. And just by taking the quiz, you'll see exactly what Hawthorne is doing for you, hitting you with the 2 colognes that are best, one for work and one for play. Totally risk-free shipping and free returns. They also have other incredible personalized products like deodorant, shampoo, body wash. I have all this shit going in my shower now at this point. I'm using the shampoo every day, the conditioner, the body wash, all phenomenal. Makes me smell great. Oh, my God. Another sneeze came on in the middle of the read. They're coming out of nowhere today. I don't know how to explain it, but the quiz you take is super quick. It asks you all the questions you've ever wanted to be asked about your hair and skin type and such, straight or curly, oily or dry, all that good stuff. And Hawthorne is going to get you everything your skin, hair, and body need to stay so fresh and so clean. So check out Hawthorne at hawthorne.co. That's Hawthorne with an E. And use our promo code ROSS, R-O-S-S, to get 10% off your first purchase. That's HAWTHORNE.co. Use the code ROSS. Get 10% off your purchase. Hawthorne.co. Code ROSS. And now it's time for some announcements and shouts. Happy birthday to Manuel Barantes, one of our fans in Mexico, if I understood your girlfriend correctly. I appreciate the support, Playboy. Happy birthday. If you want to watch our show, not just hear it, if you want to watch me sneeze, not just hear it, you go to youtube.com/Bolen Media, and you can watch me try to repress a sneeze as it explodes out of the holes in my face. It's genuinely a good time, I assure you. Thanks to the couple thousand people who have already subscribed on youtube.com/Bolen Media. Our Twitch streaming schedule, for those of you who've heard us talk over and over and over and over the last several weeks about Twitch, we go live a few times a week, Chris and I. Mm-hmm. We play Warzone, we play Fall Guys. We try to mix in some other games here and there, but most importantly, the games are not the part that's the most important. The most important part is y'all and the viewership and the interaction that we get to have with you and talking to people in the chat and the chat talking to each other. The what? The nubile nips, of course. Every once in a while there's a nipple. Mm-hmm. One of Cole's or I's nipples might slip out.
Maybe.
We go live 3 times a week, Sunday, Monday, Thursday. Currently at 7 p.m. Central. Every single time we go live, what we're going to be doing is switching that up a little bit moving forward. Today, for example, we're going to do a day stream, because we're stacking too many nights on top of each other. Cole's and I got the podcast and stuff to record too. So the point is, follow us everywhere on social media, at WR Bolen. Follow all the RBP accounts. We tell y'all every time we go live. Follow us, subscribe on twitch.tv/BossRollin', and you'll get notified every time that we are live playing Warzone with podcast listeners, playing Fall Guys. We try to work in as many podcast listeners as we can to play games with us, and we constantly interact with the chat, answering questions and responding to prompts, and we have a blast on twitch.tv/BossRollin'. So come through. Y'all are going to be seeing more and more of the hilarious clips that are a result of our streams on our social media accounts as well, if you're trying to get a better feel for exactly what you're missing out on. One of the more recent posts we did at Ross Bolen Pod, at the Ross Bolen Podcast on Instagram, was of a hilarious clip of a game of Fall Guys that I very easily should have won and did not, and that's all I'll say. You can watch that clip on there.
Sorry.
Was a bit of an alleged choke job. Anyway, that'll do it for announcements and shouts. Appreciate you for bearing with us. It's time for our first segment.
Grab your light. This is stuff the Wikipedia when you're high.
Stuff the Wikipedia when you're high.
The best.
Can't beat that.
The best. We've got a double feature of Stuff to Wikipedia when you're high today because, frankly, I need more conspiracies to discuss that don't involve current modern-day politics in my brain.
Whoop whoop.
And we've got a couple of them.
This is good stuff, baby. This is the meat, the juicy.
The first one is Project A119. It was also known as a study of lunar research flights. It was a top-secret plan developed in 1958 by the United States Air Force, the aim of which was to detonate a nuclear bomb on the moon, which would help in answering some of the mysteries in planetary astronomy and astrogeology. That was their thinking.
Yeah. Also, they thought it would be a moral boost, like fireworks.
A morale boost.
Morale boost, yeah.
It definitely wasn't going to be a moral boost. You shouldn't nuke the moon, folks.
No, they thought it would be a... Wait. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, they thought it would be a morale boost because they literally thought it would be like fireworks. They wanted to detonate it on a specific side of the moon to which it would be able to reflect the sunlight more perfectly, so it was more visible to the residents of Earth.
They
and
thought this
America.
because of the Cold War and the space race with the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union took an early lead in the space race, was working on a similar project, apparently, to try to nuke the moon.
Yeah, they wanted
everybody knows about the space race and the moon race. Nobody talks about the moon nuking race.
No,
that
the
took
Soviets
place.
were trying to put an hydrogen bomb on the moon and detonate that in order to celebrate the October revolutions. And so the U.S. was like, we can't let that happen. So we're just going to hop in here and we're going to hop on this train.
The Russians already had Sputnik that they put up, Sputnik 1, October 1957. So we're getting stomped on.
We're scared.
We got to come up with an idea, so we do an episode straight out of Space Force
Literally straight out of Space Force.
and try to nuke the moon.
Yes. And the biggest concerns about nuking the moon were, one, we were worried that if, at the time, we had multiple satellite launch failures, right? We were at, like, pretty much 50%. We weren't doing great on our satellite launches. They kept just falling back to Earth. The rockets weren't making it out of the atmosphere.
Project Vanguard was a fucking disaster.
So we were concerned that, if we got the nuke on the way to the atmosphere and then the rocket gave out, then we got a live nuke falling back down to Earth. We got a little Tybee Island situation going back on.
It's really not what you want.
Not what you're looking for. Two, if we do manage to detonate it on the moon, they were worried that, when we colonize the moon in the next 15 years, which they were planning on doing, the fallout would be too bad. And we can't have that.
Oh, there might be like radiation
on
and
the
such.
moon, yeah, from a nuke where we couldn't colonize it. We were a little concerned about that.
So obviously the project was never carried out. It was canceled because there was a fear of negative public reaction, believe it or not,
Really?
with the potential militarization of space that would have also signified, and because a moon landing would undoubtedly be a more popular achievement in the eyes of the American and international public alike. So they were like, instead of nuking the moon, let's try to land on it. So again, that similar project from the Soviet Union also never came to fruition. In case I need to tell you all, the moon has not yet been nuked.
It hasn't.
So
Not at the current moment.
We found out about this in the year 2000 when a former executive at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, otherwise known as NASA, named Leonard Reifel, who led the project in 1958, went ahead and told us about it.
Mm-hmm. And they really only found one kind of pretty neatly scrubbed document, describing everything that was going to go on with this project. And so they started to look deeper into it to find more details and found that all documents relating to Project A119 had been burned in the 1980s.
Project A119.
So who knows if there was more there? Maybe we had lots of nukes planned to go boom boom.
The rest of the documents that did survive or that did make it remained secret for nearly 45 years.
which is quite incredible. But I mean,
And the U.S.
Then again,
government
we
has
were
never
planning on-
officially recognized its involvement in this study ever.
that's also correct. Only NASA, and actually, yeah, which is technically like a subsidiary, right? Isn't it? It's not really part of our government. It's like a privatized corporation that's been brought into the government or something like that. NASA has weird
What?
things around it. I don't think NASA is like a full-on government entity.
It's an independent agency of the U.S. federal government responsible for the civilian space program. So I guess an independent
Yeah.
agency of the U.S. federal government, which I don't know what that means.
I don't
Because how
either.
are you an independent agency if you're of the U.S. federal government?
We
that
got
seems to
one
be
named Venn diagram
very
things going on.
Yeah, how is independence when you're part? I don't get it.
But yeah, U.S. plans to nuke the moon.
We didn't do it though.
Thank God.
We didn't do it.
Well, then
and
again,
that's
I
the
don't know.
important
Maybe it
part.
would have avoided 2020 if we nuked the moon. That's what I've heard.
I'd still pick doing
That's-
2020 over
Nuking the moon.
nuke of the world being void of life.
Well, if that would have happened, that would have really sucked. But astrology people would have been pissed. For sure.
Oh, they would have been very upset. The
Yeah.
astronomers would have been very
It
upset.
would have no, just astrology people, not astronomers.
Oh, okay. Our next stuff to Wikipedia when you're high is Kryptos, spelled with a K, Kryptos, which I had no idea was a thing that existed. I had heard, of course, about the attempted moon nukings, as I am a fervent stuff to Wikipedia when you're high enthusiast. But I'd never heard of Kryptos, which is an American sculpture, or it's a sculpture. It's an American sculpture by an American artist, Jim Sanborn, that can be found on the grounds of the CIA in Langley, Virginia. Look up pictures of it. It's kind of dope. The name Kryptos, by the way, comes from the ancient Greek word for hidden, and the theme of the sculpture is intelligence gathering. Since its dedication on November 3rd, 1990, there has been much speculation about the meaning of the 4 encrypted messages that Kryptos bears. So check that. 4 messages on this big, crazy CIA sculpture, okay? Of these 4 messages, the first 3 have been solved. The 4th one, though, remains one of the most famous unsolved codes in the world.
Are they like stacking messages? Like it takes one to unlock the next? Do you know?
We may find out.
Okay.
Continues to be the interest of cryptanalysts,
Kryptonite?
both amateur and professional, who are attempting to decipher the 4th passage. The artist, Jim Sanborn, has also given 4 clues to this passage. The main part of the sculpture is located in the northwest corner of the new headquarters building courtyard outside of the CIA's cafeteria. Okay? It's comprised of 4 large copper plates with elements consisting of water, wood, plants, red and green granite, white quartz, and petrified wood. The most prominent feature is a large vertical S-shaped copper screen resembling a scroll or a piece of paper emerging from a computer printer, half of which consists of encrypted text. The characters are all found within the 26 letters of the Latin alphabet, along with question marks, and are cut out of the copper plates. The main sculpture contains 4 separate enigmatic messages, 3 of which have been deciphered. In addition to the main part of the sculpture, Jim Sanborn also placed other pieces of art at the CIA grounds, such as several large granite slabs with sandwiched copper sheets outside the entrance to the new headquarters building. Several Morse code messages are found on those copper sheets. And one of the stone slabs has an engraving of a compass rose pointing to a lodestone. It's a stone that takes loads. Other elements of Sanborn's installation include a landscaped garden area, a fish pond with opposing wooden benches, a reflecting pool, and other pieces of stone, including a triangle-shaped black stone slab. The cost of the sculpture in 1988 was $250,000. It was worth $501,000 in 2016.
It's crazy. We've inflated to double that in like 30 years.
Hashtag inflation. Sanborn worked with a retiring CIA employee named Ed Scheidt, chairman of the CIA Office of Communications, to come up with the cryptographic systems used on the sculpture, and has revealed that the sculpture contains a riddle within a riddle. Wow. Riddleception, which will be solvable only after the 4 encrypted passages have been deciphered. So even after you get all 4, there's a riddle within a riddle.
Still have to solve the riddle.
This guy is the Riddler.
He is the real life Riddler, actually. That's incredible.
He's also given conflicting information about the sculpture's answers, saying at one time that he gave the complete solution to then CIA Director William Webster during the dedication ceremony, but later he also said that he had not given Webster the entire solution. This guy's a trickster.
What if there is no complete solution? This is my issue with these.
You think this is a troll job?
That's what I'm saying. This is my issue with these public works that need to be deciphered or something like that. There's never a guarantee that there is any solution, and even if there is a solution, what if it's just like the answer to some like philosophical quote or something? I don't want that. I want a treasure or something.
Yeah,
physical.
treasure map. If I do any riddle and there's not a treasure map at the end of it, I'm pissed.
See, in the 1990s, I guarantee the CIA was like, this is a great idea, right? We're going to put this Kryptos in here. We're going to get it looking nice. Get the campus looking beautiful.
Sounds
beautify
like
the campus
a Marvel
bit, you know?
Avengers character.
Probably is, honestly. I'm pretty sure Kryptos is a Greek god. Or a Titan. Yeah, he is a Titan, I believe. But anyways, the CIA thought, they were like, this is a great idea. We're definitely going to put this work of art. It's going to look pretty. It'll give our new recruits something to focus on, give them a little bit of cryptonology to put their cryptology classes into practice, I guess. I don't know if any of those are actual words, but I'm running with it.
Cryptomanologist.
And then they realized that Jeff from accounting was spending every single lunch and 3 hours of a day every day trying to decipher Kryptos.
Yep.
They got the entire campus not even focused on catching bad guys anymore. Ah, that was a bad joke. They got this entire campus not even focused on catching bad guys anymore. They're just focused on deciphering Kryptos. They don't even care.
Why was this a bad joke?
I was going to say something that wouldn't have it's too soon. Wouldn't have played well. We'll save it for a different time.
Well, they mostly have never been focused on catching bad guys, it turns out.
Yeah, that's very true.
If we go by stuff to Wikipedia's when you're high, they've mostly just been dosing Americans with LSD and doing things like Kryptos.
And like
with the CIA. Shouts to the CIA, by the way. Take me off whatever list you're looking at right now.
Black sites, black sites, black sites.
No, don't listen to him. Take him. Kill him. Leave me.
I'd like to check out a black site.
Leave me.
Just go check it out real quick. Stop by, swing through, have a good old time.
He did, Sanborn, however, confirm that a passage of the plain text of the second message says, "Who knows the exact location? Only WW." Which you would think
Willy Wonka.
stands for Willy Wonka.
Yeah. Is it?
I've got a golden ticket.
Holy shit.
Cheer up, Charlie.
Willy Wonka.
I watched this
was
movie
the
recently.
predecessor.
If you're wondering why I can so quickly remember the main musical bits.
Hear me out here. Kryptos was inspired by Willy Wonka. You have to go back and use the movie as a cipher for the sculpture.
I heard you have to watch it backwards.
To dissect it and upside down in a different language. And that's how you get it. That's why nobody's solved it yet, because they haven't cross-referenced the original movie. How has nobody gotten this?
It's got to be
says
the OG
it
Willy
right
Wonka,
there.
not the Johnny Depp trash 20.
No, but that's the
remake or
thing. No,
whatever.
they get you with the Johnny Depp trash because it came out after the fact that Kryptos was made, so they would think that you would think it's the original Willy Wonka, but it's not. You see? Do you get it?
No.
You should. This is why it hasn't been solved yet. Nobody sees the world the way I see it.
Sanborn also confirmed that should he die before the entire sculpture becomes deciphered, there will be someone able to confirm the solution. In 2020, that's this year, he stated that he planned to put the secret to the solution up for auction when he dies.
See, that's what I'm saying, man. This is all just a way to make money.
Now here's the solution of the first passage. Between subtle shading and the absence of light lies the nuance of illusion, and illusion is misspelled where the first L is a Q. Solution of passage 2.
So what if it's inclusion?
You'd need 2 letters. There's only one that's a Q. This
Yeah.
is why Coles is not a code breaker.
I haven't figured out.
No,
I
he
don't know
clearly
why
does
nobody's
not.
listening.
Clearly does
to
not.
me.
Can't even
Nobody
understand the first fucking
listens.
passage. Can't even understand the first one. So
No, I just think
passage number 2. It was totally invisible. How's that possible? They used the Earth's magnetic field, X. The information was gathered and transmitted underground to an unknown location. X. Does Langley know about this? They should. It's buried out there somewhere. X. Who knows the exact location? Only WW. This was his last message. X, 38 degrees, 57 minutes, 6.5 seconds north, 77 degrees, 8 minutes, 44 seconds west. X, layer 2.
this is like
What do you got on that one, dipshit?
Call of Duty Easter egg. Again,
That is like a Call of Duty Easter egg right there.
Again, Willy Wonka is looking for the last golden ticket to be able to give to somebody that unlocks the secret underground tunnel that holds the tunnels JFK used to meet with Marilyn Monroe. That's what this is for.
Solution of passage 3. Slowly, desperately, slowly, the remains of passage debris that encumbered the lower part of the doorway was removed. With trembling
Doorways.
hands, I made a tiny breach in the upper left-hand corner, and then widening the hole a little, I inserted the candle and peered into the hot air escaping from the chamber caused the flame to flicker, but presently details of the room within emerged from the mist. X, can you see anything? Q. This is a paraphrased
Now
quotation.
I'm all in on my JFK Marilyn Monroe tunnel theory. I think that's what they're looking for. They're looking for the sex dungeon.
So this is actually a paraphrased quotation from Howard Carter's account of the opening of the tomb of Tut
Oh.
on November 26, 1922, as described in his 1923 book, The Tomb of Tut. I can never say the full Tut. Tuttenham, I think is close.
Tottenham Common, right?
Tuttenham.
There's a K there.
It's silent.
I don't think that one is. I'm
I think
pretty
you're-
sure
I think
it's
you're gonna get
Tottenham
checked.
Common.
You're going to get checked by museum people here, I think. Somebody's getting checked by museum people. After producing Kryptos, Sanborn went on to make several other sculptures with codes and other types of writing. See, this guy's just a code junkie, including one entitled Antipodes, which is at the Hirshhorn Museum in Washington, D.C., an untitled Kryptos piece that was sold to a private collector, which is seemingly has to be connected. It's untitled Kryptos piece?
That's
What
what
does
I'm
that
saying.
mean?
There have
Some other guy out there's got the key.
the key. That's what I'm saying. These people. Oh, it's like that guy that he planted that treasure out in the mountains, and then people found it a couple weeks ago. But it really took a bunch of different source materials to actually find where the treasure was found. Same thing. This guy's hiding clues. It's not fair. We need all the evidence.
This reminds me of like how he who should not be named had all those different little things that people, all those little oh man, what were they called in Harry Potter? What are the things that have to be killed, have to be destroyed?
I know what you're talking about. It's just been way too long since I've
Harry
seen or read a Harry Potter book.
Have to. What's the bad guy's name in Harry Potter? Voldemort.
Horcruxes.
Horcrux?
Yeah, that's what it
Horcrux. Yes. Thank you for everyone who is screaming at your radios, phones, computers,
People that have
etc. I appreciate you for bearing with me as I remembered the word Horcrux.
I should probably rewatch Harry Potter. It's been forever.
My dad just watched all of them. I
They're
think
great.
for the first time ever.
Did you ever read them?
Congratulations, Dad. No, I read the first one.
They're really good.
Yeah.
These
Whatever.
codes like this always really, I mean, they're very impressive to me. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time,
I'm not a code guy.
I just feel like it's much more interesting. Like, take, for example, the Voynich manuscript. Have you ever heard of the Voynich manuscript?
Mm-mm.
Basically, it's a book from, I believe, the 1400s that depicts a lot of plants and wildlife, but a lot of it doesn't exist in real life. It's like very reminiscent of things that actually exist, but it's like if somebody took acid and then tried to draw the same things.
What?
And, yeah. And it's from like the 14 or 1500s. Voynich, if you want to look it up. But now it's in a museum in America, and there's still text in there that even the best cryptologists in the world have yet to decipher. And so a lot of people think it may just be gibberish. And so that's my issue with things like this, is that you're kind of forcing, unless there's an actual meaning behind it or like a lost language or something like that, it just feels kind of like a waste of time. I don't know. Just personally.
Code hater over here.
Yeah.
Code
maybe
hater.
Slight code hater.
Not a Kryptos fan, Coles.
Shouts to the Navajo code talkers, though.
Noted Kryptos hater. Where's Nash from A Beautiful Mind when you need him? Those are your two stuff to Wikipedia's when you're high from today. Project A119, where the United States considered and planned to nuke the moon. And then Kryptos, a sculpture at the CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, with 4 separate messages, all of which can be solved, the fourth of which is not, which then lead to a riddle within a riddle. Because of Sanborn. That son of a bitch, Jim Sanborn.
Shouts to Jim.
Next segment. Ross's no good, very bad fantasy football weekend. So as many of you know, after drafting David Johnson in the first round last year, which would result in me achieving last place in fantasy football, I was forced, as my last place punishment, to caddy for the winner, the first place winner, in this case, the commissioner of our league in his first ever fantasy football win, a guy named Dan. Now, we had decided beforehand the punishment was one of two things you got to pick. You had to either change your Facebook photo to a different shirtless selfie taken of you that day for a week, every day of the week, different shirtless Facebook selfie, or you had to caddy for the first place winner in the first round of golf we play at our next golf retreat where we do our live draft every year.
You took the latter?
It wasn't really an option.
Okay.
To do the former, and this is an age difference thing. Chris, you can't put a different shirtless selfie on Facebook is a fucking nightmare.
Ross, you shit
For
talk
older
Facebook
people.
every single day.
For older people. It wouldn't just be like a weird thing. Like, it would be like all the dumbest people I know
Okay.
are just on Facebook arguing. None of them have
Sure.
any clue what I do for a living.
Sure.
They don't know what a podcast is.
Yeah.
Okay, I had a
Oh, no,
guy.
no, I get
had
it.
a guy
Sure.
at this fantasy football draft ask me, "What is a podcast, and can I get one?"
Oh.
And I
This
was
year?
like, 48 hours ago.
Shit.
And I was like, by the way, just as an aside, this guy is worth millions and millions of dollars on his own accord. And he asked me, "What is a podcast, and can I get one?" And I said, "It's like, like radio. And yeah, you can get one." And he was like, "Well, I have an Android. Can I still get one?" He was like, "Well, how do I?" Because somebody was like, "It's an app, and he was like, "What's the app?" He's like, "It's Apple Podcast. You get the podcast app." He's like, "Well, I have an Android. Can I still get one?" I was like, can you stop saying get one? You don't get one.
You make one. You have one.
What do you mean you get? No, he's talking about can I get one to like listen to?
Oh.
Can I get one? How do I get one? Can I get one of those podcasts? Let me get a podcast right quick. Like what the fuck? He just like that. I was staring him dead in the face, just like what? What?
Yeah. So, but no, I get it. I mean, you can't post shirtless pics on Facebook just because you're self-conscious of the people that you haven't seen in 10 years and that they might think differently of you, and you still care about people's opinions.
No. Allow me to explain.
I'm just kidding.
Since it apparently matters. When you do what I do for a living, as long as you've done it, you have enough shit to deal with.
Sure.
You don't want to put up shit. Also, it's a douchebag move because you're taking away the element of entertainment for everybody else in the league. A true champion would do number 2, and I am a true champion. I've won the league before. And dress in the caddy outfit and caddy for the guy who won before, because easy decision for team content.
Okay. True.
Facebook picture does nothing for us, does nothing for the show, nothing for me to talk about here. Nobody gives a shit about the comments. Everybody thinks I'm weird now. They're talking about my small nipples. I'm very hairy. I'm also in good shape now, so it's less funny and more douchey. Fuck all that. Not even close to being a decision. This was easy, even considering the temperature, which was a fucking 100 degrees with a 105-degree heat index.
And see, this is why I was so confused that you didn't take the ladder, because of how disgustingly hot it was.
Still not a hard decision. Still not even close.
Props to you for team content right there. Got to give it to you.
And this is another thing. Props to me because as a result of RossFit and Chris and I working out a few times a week, I was able to do all 18 holes in a full. This guy. Here's what happened.
Yeah. This is the best part about it. This is actually
Dan ordered
is
the nicest, actual, most expensive, legit, realistic, true to life Masters caddy outfit he could find. Like 60% polyester, 40% cotton. Masters caddying outfit, full head to toe, long sleeve pants onesie that zips from fucking dick tip to neck, like straight from the Masters, straight from Augusta.
It looked like it had been starched. It was that thick.
I mean, he had it on I think he did have it starched. It was like on a hanger, like you could see the video on my Instagram. He went and got it out of his car and like handed it to me, and I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. So the punishment was to have the caddy for him, and we made it the league tradition now that this is going to be what we do every year, and you have to wear the full Masters outfit. And for those of you who were like, man, that doesn't seem like that bad of a punishment, I had to make a full NFL Combine video and actually submit it to the NFL. Well, you keep in mind, Texas, we do the draft every August, and it's literally like there's a chance you might die. And I know this because one of the other dudes who we were out there with
might have died.
We're leaving the golf course. He survived, thankfully. But we're leaving the golf course, and he gets in his truck to drive away, and then all of a sudden he gets out of his truck and starts projectile vomiting all over the parking lot. And if you're thinking, oh, man, he drank too much. No. This guy didn't drink too much. He just didn't drink enough water, or the sun just got him. You know how some people are just more susceptible to that shit?
Yeah,
like,
100%.
He got. Like, this is one of the members of our league. His dad had to come pick him up. Like, he didn't get to draft. Like, he didn't get to draft a team. One of our buddies who somehow wiggled his way into being a part of this annual trip is the same guy who asked me what a podcast is, by the way, and doesn't watch sports. He drafted for this guy because this guy had to get picked up by his dad after having a fucking heat stroke. So that's how hot it was out there, and I got through all 18 holes. Actually played at least 2 holes well. First time playing golf in all of 2020. But it was tough. I won't lie to you. I drank like 20 bottles of water.
20?
I think I probably drank somewhere between 15 and 20 bottles of water. Like almost a bottle of water a hole was the pace I was on.
You kind of have to.
I worked in a liquid IV too.
There you go. Once you're so like back home, we would go on the lake a lot, right? And drinking in the sun, especially on the lake, but golf courses are similar, and just being in nonstop sunlight for about 4 to 6 hours straight. It's a different type of being able to like keep the stamina up. You just get completely drained. Like I'll bring people on the lake with me for the first time back home, and I've drank with them hundreds of times, gone out to bars, anything like that, never an issue. They'll make it like 2.5 hours and they're asleep in the back of the boat because they can't hang out in the sunshine and drink on the lake all day. It's a whole different ballgame. You have to drink water so much more, and and you have to stay hydrated. You have to stay out of the sun as much as you can. I mean, you got to be strong, man. It's for the strong-willed. Props to you.
The sun will eat your energy. It's crazy.
I was really hoping you were gonna come back with like a deep V tan line. Didn't happen, but I was praying for it.
No, fuck that. Didn't need. I mean, it was. So I started with it zipped all the way up and played like the first few holes and like did it legit. And then on the 18th hole, I did like the sprinting after the ball thing, and then actually almost watched one of my other friends get hit by the ball, which was just neither here nor there. The point is.
Wait, what's the sprinting after the ball thing?
Some really nice country clubs. Your caddy literally like sprints the fairway every time to go like spot your ball.
Like full on sprint?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I did that on the 18th hole because we were the last group.
Really
so the other
nice
3
country
groups
clubs?
were over in front of us already, so that they could be. We did like I said, team content, man.
Do really nice clubs provide a caddy, or do you bring your own caddy?
It completely depends on the club.
Okay.
I mean, most country clubs do not do caddying.
Yeah.
It depends on like
So
the
it has to
type
be like
of golf
a
club
really
you're at.
nice, really
It just
nice
depends
country
on the
club.
type of golf club you're
Oh,
at.
sure,
There are
sure.
places in Houston, though, that have my buddy Dan, who I ended up having to caddy for here, had recently played a course even where this is what they do. And I can't remember the name of the course, so I'd give him a shout-out, but it's supposed to be amazing. I'll get it from Dan and not remember to tell y'all next time. All in all, the entire thing was, I mean, it was tough. It really was taxing, which is why I ended up heading back Saturday to just kick it with my mom. And man, I've just never. The thing is, sneaky, it ended up being advantageous because I was able to unzip it like down to legit my belly button. And then I look kind of like more like a male stripper or like a sexual construction worker or inmate than a caddy. But the breeze, man, we had a little sneaky breeze, so it was like getting up in there, And all in all, I survived. I got it done.
Well, it was white too.
I took care of my punishment. Very true. It was
Thank God
white.
it was white.
Thank God.
Could
And
you
that's,
imagine
that's
if it
the
was-
one thing they do for these caddies, man. At least they make them white because, like, there was a dude in the pro shop, right? So, like, when I get there
Yeah.
and he pulls it out of the truck and I have to walk around, I put it on and I'm walking around. This is a very populated golf course.
Sure.
Of course, everybody's trying to practice social distancing and masked up in the pro shop and all that good stuff. But everyone is staring at me. I mean, this is not something you see
No.
at this type of course.
And it has a Masters logo on it, correct?
Oh no, full blown.
Yeah.
The fucking
the
nameplate
number.
on the
Yeah,
back,
yeah, yeah.
Bowman. I've got a number
Did it
on
say
it.
Bolen?
Yeah, it's like no.
Oh,
Excuse
okay.
me. I'm I almost said my boy's last name, but it doesn't matter. It's all the way legit, as legit as it could possibly
Wow.
be. So like, one of the guys in the pro shop told me. One time he had a dude, he worked at another golf course where Jack Nicholson was playing, and one of the caddies had to caddy for Jack wearing the full-blown polyester and cotton caddy suit,
Sure.
and then the dude shed 12 pounds over the course of the round.
Just like our guy from the 1904 Summer Olympics that shed 8 pounds from eating rotten apples.
Yeah, both of which should be strategies that like boxers and UFC fighters utilize to cut weight before their fights. They should go caddy in a full caddy outfit.
But I was saying, like, could you imagine if you had to wear like a dark green one,
It'd
like a
it'd
Masters
hell.
colored one?
Be hell.
You
You
would have
wouldn't.
actually
You would
died.
literally die.
Well, I'm proud of you, Ross. You made it through, and you.
Well, I
worked
made it
for
through
team
that.
Content.
The golf was the
Oh,
golf.
Yeah. Well,
And that was one thing. The draft was a total and utter clusterfuck. Not only do we have one guy who doesn't watch sports drafting for a guy who had like some kind of heat stroke. Again, I think he's totally fine, so it's fine for me to laugh about now. But my God, projectile vomit, exorcist style, all over the parking lot. I mean, I was really high, and I was just like staring at him like,
Wow.
this is really heavy, man. Like, I'm in a caddy suit in the parking lot in the 78666 watching this dude maybe die of a heat stroke. It was a lot to, like, process. But then we get to the draft night. And, I mean, the draft was supposed to start at 9 p.m. We've got 2 guys Zoom calling in because they've got pregnant wives and shit. The Wi-Fi's not working. It takes an hour and a half to set up a hotspot. There's never been a more poorly designed draft weekend than the one we do. I don't know how to explain this other than to say that 12 grown degenerate men drinking at a high clip in 105-degree heat all day long while playing golf, and then attempting to draft pretend football teams for the sake of occupying time in this mundane life of ours. It doesn't go well. It takes 6 hours to do the draft. Everybody's so drunk they can barely speak. Except me, of course, who's just trying to smoke enough joints to tolerate the drunkenness. Because as I've said, drunk people are the worst when you're not drunk. So, like, I have to get so high that I ended up drafting a guy I don't even know who he is with my first pick. And, of course, I got the last pick in the draft. Of course I did. But Austin Eckler. Ever heard of him?
Now I have.
Austin Eckler.
I looked him up. I've actually seen. He's a great player. He's a West Coast
Chargers
team.
running back.
Yeah, I grew up a Carolina Panthers fan, like I've stated on the podcast before. They're an NFC team as well as being on the East Coast. So the Chargers being on the West Coast and in the AFC. I just don't really know much about them, so I didn't really know much about Austin Eckler. But, I mean, first pick. Good job, man.
Yeah, I don't know. It was the 12th pick. I took Austin Eckler.
You picked up, you got Cam Newton. You got my boy.
I did pick up Cam. I got a little Cam action going,
And
which I
Kyler
feel
Murray
good
for
about.
backup.
Yeah.
I think your quarterback
Cam's my backup
selections-
if you want to be real about it.
No.
Yeah.
I
Kyler
think your
Murray is
quarterback
my starter.
selections, though, were excellent. I think you'll do very well there.
You can't tell me you're biased. You're biased. But,
Kyler Murray's 6 foot, like 5'9".
Noted piece of shit Tyreek Hill was my second pick. So I had to go 12-13 back to back, right? So I got Eckler, I got Tyreek Hill, I got Robert Woods, Mark Andrews, don't know who that is, Kyler Murray, DeAndre Swift, don't know who that is, John Brown, Matt Breida, Jerry Jeudy, don't know who that is, Emmanuel Sanders, Cam Newton, Hunter Renfrow, Justin Tucker, Niners defense, Rex Burkhead, Mohamed Sanu. And that'll do it for my fantasy
actually not
team,
bad.
which nobody gives a shit about. But the draft itself was an utter and total clusterfuck. After 3 rounds, we were like, we're not going to make it. We're not going to make it. I mean, the footage was depressing. Like, I took a video and sent it to some of my friends, and they were like, this is the saddest draft I've ever seen. Like, the property was dope. The golf was awesome. It's just a stupid setup. We need to just do all online draft. It's not worth it anymore. It's too much of a hassle. There's too many dissenting opinions, by the way, in this particular group of people. Like, it couldn't have been more hostile in terms of, like, the political talk didn't stop the entire weekend. It was fucking crazy. Like, I felt like I had to, like, literally, I smoked probably 15 joints that day.
I was quoted at 16.
I had those cones, bro. And my buddy Blake, thank you, Blake. When he went to make a beer run, I was like, bro, if they have rolling papers, please. Grab the cones, like, please. And he was like, cones? Like, this guy knows nothing about weed. Like, he does not partake.
Yeah.
And was like, yeah, I'll see what I can do. And he came back with, like, 3 packs of rolling papers, 2 things of, like, cones with, like, 10 of them in there a piece. I was just like, oh, thank you, Blake. But I'm serious. I had to smoke, like, 15 joints to get through this shit. At one point, one of my buddies, he's real old school, okay? He's like he's an Amarillo, Texas guy, and he's just really, really, really not in tune with what's going on in the world, okay?
Sure.
And he's fucking wasted in the pool, and he just goes, I gotta know, Ross. Just how woke are you? And I literally just smoked a joint, like, out before getting in the pool, and I was just like, I don't know, man. I'm at least partially awake. Or I'm at least. And he goes, even a little awake is too awake. And I was just like, I am not even sure what question I'm answering right now. Like, what? I don't know what that means. I don't talk about myself as if I'm woke or consider myself to be a woke person. I don't like that. Like, I don't like that idea. Like,
I consider wokeness the opening of your third eye, and I would say your third eye is begin to open.
I just don't consider wokeness. Period. Like, I don't think that's a thing you achieve. That's just like you always want to be learning thing. Like,
enlightenment.
Yeah, I don't think you, like, achieve a spot and then you're awake.
I think you can. I just think we're looking. I mean, I'm not talking about wokeness and, like, the social, like.
That's
that's
the context.
But that's
here,
what he was asking.
That's the context here.
I do think there is an actual thing of awakening that you can go throughout your life.
For sure.
Where
no, for sure. But I mean, socially,
but
like,
based on his question and what he was asking,
I don't think that's a thing you achieve.
No, that isn't something you achieve.
I think that's an
like a
ever-developing,
social, like
never-stopping type of deal. That's
he's
like
talking about, like,
constantly in
social
flow.
wokeness. That's like it's got all these labels attached to it, which I don't really fully believe in. But I think that as a person, you do wake up and you can awaken to see the world as it is, not as we're presented it, which I think you have begun.
And there are levels to that too. I don't think you ever stop that. Like, that's what I'm saying.
No,
that's why I don't like the term.
True.
And
I think enlightenment is like the highest level of that.
Well, but it's
sometimes
also
that
just the
takes
stupidest
multiple-
fucking question I've ever been asked because
Yeah.
it's like,
No, it's quite
what
hilarious.
do
that
you
they ask
mean,
that.
bro? Like, what does that mean? And I want to reiterate something. The weekend was a great reminder of this. It's like, yo, like I have a lot of love for a lot of these dudes that were on this trip that we don't agree on pretty much anything when it comes to like our belief system or like whatever, moral codes or different types of like political shit or religious shit or whatever. But I can still have love for these guys and try to be a positive influence on what I see as a negative outlook. All right, like it doesn't mean we can't hang out. Like it doesn't mean we can't have conversations. And I still stand by that being one of the biggest issues we face in America today. Something that like I spoke to Arian Foster about when we did our live stream, and I put that episode on the feed, on the podcast feed. If you haven't ever listened to it, it's a few episodes back. Like I hate the concept of cutting people off, of saying fuck this person, they're beyond saving. And it's not that I don't agree that some people are. Like there are a bunch of dudes in this group who are never gonna listen to me when it comes to political shit. It does not matter what I say. They think I'm crazy, and that's that. And that can be okay. It doesn't mean I still can't be like be a light for these people or whatever. Be the woke guy who makes them think about shit or whatever. Even if I think that's lame and I hate it, like it's okay to be friends with people you disagree with. And there are levels to friendship, and there are levels to brotherhood. And like I consider every single one of these dudes to be my brother, but I also know that a lot of them, you know, we have very differing opinions, and they think I'm lost and I think they're lost, and it's this whole weird situation we found ourselves in 2020 in this country, right? Where it's just like we can't see eye to eye across any aisle or whatever. It was just interesting to see that in full display. Like you couldn't find a more perfect example of just how torn, in particular, white America is over these social issues. Like we are so far apart, and it has become more and more prevalent to me, and that's why I think it's so unpredictable what happens in our presidential elections the last couple. I know we're seeing numbers and polls and all that and this and that, but man, I'm telling you, like that whole silent majority thing, I don't know if it's the majority, but there are a fuckload of people you're not going to hear from on social media that are, you know, in my opinion, on the wrong side of things still, and not having conversations with anybody. And it's just a crazy, crazy thing, like, to, I guess because my world and my world views and so much, everything about my life has changed so much since college. And for a lot of these guys, like, and that's why I say you have to be patient with people and give them the opportunity. Not all these guys have experienced all the things that I have since college. So it's not like necessarily all the way their fault that they don't have the life experience yet. Maybe it's just that they need another 5 years. I don't fucking know. But that's why I say you can't cut people off, because if you don't give them the chance, then what a waste. What if potentially one of those people could become one of our better allies, like in this whole shit? Like, it just seems we lose too many people that way. So if you have the whole fuck you if you support Trump, like I have nothing to say to you thing, that I think that sucks. Because I can't think of another example of a belief in life that you could have that would make me say, yeah, I'm just going to not even try. Not even try. You're not worth it. You're dead to me. I can't think of a thing that
The hardest thing I think
you could declare yourself as that I would be like, nope, you're cut off. You're out. Sorry.
I feel like just from the perspective of a lot of people that say that, they're coming from a place of that if you're siding with this, that means you also side with this, which means you're downplaying the value of me as a person. And that's where I think that type of mentality comes into play there. And that's why the politics have gotten so difficult and messy these days, because we've turned civil and human rights into political issues, and that's not how it should be. We're now taking sides on human rights issues and calling it politics.
Right.
Which is not politics.
It's all mixed up, man.
Yeah.
It sucks. But even so, we were able to come together and have a good weekend, and that's in large part just because, you know, I know when to talk and when to keep my mouth shut to avoid confrontation with people that it's not worthwhile. But like I said, just try to stay open-minded with everybody as you move through the rest of 2020 because there is so much more dissenting opinion than I think a lot of people are willing to admit or realize, probably on both sides. And it's just like, well, let's just fucking talk about it then. It just seems, I know it's possible because I've done it. And this was another example of doing it. Like, I had some conversations that were relatively normal, a lot of really abnormal ones too. But it was just, the people live in different worlds and don't realize it and are unwilling to step into each other's and kind of fucking look around and see what's what. So
I mean, I lived in a culture bubble for the first 18 years of my life. I didn't realize the world I was really living in until I managed to step my way outside of it.
Samesies. Big samesies. By the way, shouts to the Kissing Tree golf course in San Marcos. It was great, even though it was hot as fuck. I did get to play the round, by the way. I got to play golf. Our fearless leader and supreme leader in the commissioner of our fantasy football league, Dan, allowed me to play with him in his cart. I just had to caddy as well, and he took it relatively easy on me there too. We both suck. Neither one of us is any good, so it's not like we had to take it seriously. Had a blast though.
Is there anybody in that group that just crushes golf?
There are a few good golfers in that group. Nobody that crushes it was there this year.
I played one time with a group of like very mediocre players and one like disgustingly good player. That was probably my least favorite round of golf I've ever played.
I like playing with good people if they're the type of good people who know, like, all right, I'm way better than you and I'm going to chill. I'm not going to be like a psycho about this. If you play with somebody who's like trying to go low and gets real upset when you slice the ball 320 yards across the fairway away from their ball, and they're annoyed by how that throws off their game, then that shit sucks. If you play with somebody who's really good, who can enjoy themselves with a shitty player, you can learn a lot.
Well, this was a
and
guy
it's just fun to watch because you're like, God damn.
No, that it was enjoyable to watch, but like this was a buddy of mine's fraternity brother that was from up north, and so he was like making all these like I think he was trying to be helpful, but he was like trying to coach us in like kind of a like looking down, like a patronizing way, and it just made the round of golf feel very annoying.
You never want to play golf with somebody who's sitting there trying to tell you shit you need to try. It's funny, when we were playing Fall Guys the other night, we played with one of our listeners, Steph. Shouts to Steph. She's awesome and actually taking a lot of initiative to try to do some really cool things for our listenership in this community and trying to plan something called like Ross Palooza, which at some point hopefully we can pull off. 2020 obviously being not the best time for that, but Steph is awesome, and we were playing Fall Guys with her the other night on the stream, and she said something to me in the middle of the final round, trying to give me a bit of advice. She said, look down to the next level on Hexagon, for those of you who play Fall Guys. And it got in my head, and I was like, I made this analogy to her. I was like, Steph, that'd be like if we went and played golf together, and you know how the dude who always wants to give you tips, hey, why don't you move your right foot back a little bit? And,
did it mid-stroke?
And if they did that to you mid-backswing.
Like in your
just
wind
went
up?
in your
No,
mid-backswing, if they went, hey, man, you should maybe try loosening your grip a little bit. That's not normal.
That's what that guy would do.
Oh, that's
why
not
I hated
normal,
it.
bro.
I would
That's
be like
not
getting
normal at
set
all.
for my shot, and like I would start at the beginning, and he would like, wait, you're like your left foot is like.
No,
and I know he was trying to help, but like
no. That's totally against golf etiquette.
Yeah.
That's completely insane.
Yeah, but I mean, also to be fair to Steph, it's very easy to get in your head. Your mental fortitude in Fall Guys. Is
When I was just mostly fucking with her, yeah.
Barely
but
there.
that dude talking in your backswing or trying to give you tips in your backswing is certified psychopathic behavior, and you should literally turn around and take out one of his kneecaps with your driver.
Well, he'd been golfing. It was like one of those guys that like grew up golfing.
Dude,
so,
that
like,
makes it worse.
I know.
That makes it even worse.
Like he
that
thought
he would do
was like
Nobody, not during the backswing. Every golfer knows.
Yeah, I think it's because none of us actually golfed, and so he thought he was like the pro on the course. That was like, you know,
fuck that.
like our coach almost.
Total
he felt like he
disrespect.
thought he was our coach. It did feel like total disrespect.
Yeah. Condescension. I won't stand for it. I won't stand for it. Anyway, the draft weekend was fun. I survived one night, got back Saturday, hung with my mom. Great times, good times. My team sucks. I don't even know who my first pick is. I know 3-4 guys' names on my team that I've never seen before in my entire life. And that's that. Last thing I'll say about sports is that the Rockets can close out the Thunder tonight at 8 p.m. Central. The line is -5. Rockets -5. I'm all over it again. Same element as last game. This is another blowout. Rockets by a zillion. Series over, man. And I'm sorry, Thunder fans, and I still respect Chris Paul, but we saw what happened when these guys played defense like they did in Game 5. When they actually played defense, nah, son. Nah. It's over. And Dennis Schroeder with the nut punch on P.J. Tucker the Rockets are coming out very, very, very ready to win this series. And just in terms of talent, the Thunder are very overmatched. No disrespect to the team. Y'all are in a bit of a weird rebuilding middle phase. But this one's over. Rockets -5. Lock it in. If you're looking to bet on sports, since they're back, and we're about to be back in full fucking blown like NFL, MLB, NHL, NBA, soccer, fucking everything.
I mean, dude, we had college football this weekend.
The most sports ever happening at one time in the history of sportsdom. And if you're looking for a place to bet on those sports, it's MyBookie. With up to the minute odds on all your favorite teams, a great, easy-to-use website at MyBookie.ag. They make understanding the lines and all your different betting options easier than any other online sportsbook I'm aware of. They're responsive as hell on social media whenever I've had questions. They've assured me they're going to take good care of y'all. From your computer to your cell phone, you've got instant access to action with MyBookie.ag, whether you're at work or on the go. We have so many sports this season. It is literally winning season.
Make some money, baby.
It is winning season at MyBookie. Winning season means doubling your first deposit. Winning season means free bets, super contests, Survivor, and more. At MyBookie, winning season is all about your chance to win big during the year of the fucking comeback. Bet on the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball, UFC, and then some. The craziest sports summer of your fucking life is here. It is simple. Make your picks, win big, collect your cash, invest in your intuition, select from hundreds of future bets, or you can do what I do and bet games in real time with MyBookie's live betting. This is where I thrive. Live betting is my jam, son.
Same.
Put that big brain of yours to good use. Use promo code RBP. Double your first deposit. New players get up to $1,000 in free play designed to add more excitement to the sports you love and the games you bet. Thousands of cross-sport wagers, props, and parlays await. Sign up now to bet with the best and start your winning season today only at MyBookie. Use that code RBP. With MyBookie, you bet, you win, and most importantly, when you win, you get paid. Code RBP for that extra cashish at MyBookie.ag. Shouts to them for supporting the show. Keep in mind, there are obviously stipulations that apply when it comes to getting those free plays and those the double deposit bonuses. If they just gave you free money and then you could immediately cash out, that would be a pretty shitty business model for a casino. So there's a rollover. You have to bet X amount before you can cash out. You know what I'm saying? You put in $100. Yes, they double it. Now you have 200, but you have to bet X amount before you can cash out so that it's fair. You understand. MyBookie.ag. Just read the details on there if you don't understand. Use the code RBP when you sign up. And there you go. Double your first deposit. New players up to $1,000 in free play. Bada bang, bada bing. Win some stuff. Before you head out to take on the world, it's time for some very important announcements. You have 3 legal obligations you've been saddled with as a result of having listened to this entire podcast. Number 1, rate and review. Check that box. Move on to number 2. Share the show with one person this week. Check that box. Move on to number 3. Use our sponsor codes. Hawthorne.co, the code is Ross. MyBookie.ag, the code is RBP. Those are your 3 legal obligations. Check all 3 boxes, and I'll call off the dogs. We won't have to see each other in court. The lawyers can go about their business, bill somebody else for those hours. We all live long and prosper. Follow us on Instagram at the Ross Bolen Podcast, on Twitter at Ross Bolen Pod. We're also on Facebook.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. You can follow me, Ross Bolen, on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at WRBOLEN, at WR Bolen, and also catch me 3 times minimum a week on twitch.tv/BossRollin. We're actually doing an afternoon stream this afternoon instead of an evening one.
Let's go.
No Monday night stream. Afternoon starting stream. We'll go into the early evening and then we'll be done. Twitch.tv/BossRollin. Chris, where can everybody follow you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Q0ULS. You can find me on Instagram at ChrisSC99. And you can find me on Snapchat at Chris_Coulson. That's COULSON.
Check out Bolen Media's television and film podcast, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, wherever RBP is available. OCC, otherwise known as Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. We are currently covering Yellowstone Season 1. We finally started watching Yellowstone, thoroughly enjoying it. Kevin Costner, what's good? We're loving it. Great show. Yellowstone Season 1 through Episode 5, I believe it is this week. We're covering on Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. And then Lovecraft Country on HBO, which has been wild as hell so far, thoroughly entertaining. If you're not watching Lovecraft Country on HBO, I highly recommend it. And then you can listen to OCC and follow along with me and my co-host, Mr. Barrett Dudley. And that will do it for RBP 327, produced by Mike Moody Garcia of Permanent Record Studios in Austin, Texas. We'll be back Wednesday with RBP 328, and of course on Friday with Patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast, another exclusive premium ad-free episode for dues-paying members of the RBP gang, pledging their monthly support to keep the podcast alive, showing, and growing. Minimum of just $5 monthly on Patreon. It's simply a platform that allows us to circumvent the advertising industry and bring you episodes directly in exchange for your monetary support. Patreon, Patreon, patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. Come through, support the show, get more RBP every single Friday, ad-free. They tend to be goofy. Coles and I like to get goofy on Fridays.
We do be getting a little goofy on there.
If you think we're goofy today, you should see us on Fridays. Oh, sure, hon.
Oh, it's like Fall Guys and today on steroids, I'd say.
Oh, sure. You're not alone. Podmen get paid. Respect Mr. Park. Strength and honor. Gang, gang, gang. Coles, say it.
Oh, peace be with you.
Oh, and also with you, hon.